Critical question for all you SYSBM brothers. Who's gonna save you from crazy Beckys like this? Coming to paperback and e-readers, from the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women are becoming lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Pre-order your copy of The Woman Crisis on Amazon.com today. A Colorado woman allegedly kidnapped her Tinder date and then stabbed, choked, and threatened to send him to the shadow realm. Now, in this incident, which takes place in Colorado Springs, Lauren Dooley, a 22-year-old white woman, allegedly met with a 21-year-old black man for a hookup date on Tinder, and after they talked to each other, they went to her apartment where your Lauren Dooley and this black man took off all of their clothes, and your Lauren Dooley allegedly performed oral sex on this black man. And then as she was performing this oral sex act, she persuaded this 21-year-old black man to have his wrists and ankles bound together with duct tape. Now, the 21-year-old black man says he found it odd, but consented to your Lauren Dooley in participating in this allegedly deviant sexual act. And as he was being bound with these tape on his wrists and his ankles, your Lauren Dooley allegedly went into the kitchen to get a kitchen knife and demanded that they go to the bedroom. And it was at that point that the victim thought that he no longer wanted to stay in the apartment, and he basically wanted to end the date. However, once he saw your Dooley allegedly brandishing this kitchen knife, he feared for his life and then complied with your Lauren Dooley's alleged demands. And those demands were that he get into bed with her, and as your Dooley got on top of him, she cut his left shoulder before choking him with her hands and then with a belt. And as she was participating in all of these deviant sexual acts, your Lauren Dooley allegedly was upset about the victim bleeding all over the bed, so she told him to get into a bathtub. And after he got into the bathtub, your Dooley allegedly ordered food from DoorDash and said, "If you scream or say anything, I'll kill you." That is what she is alleged to have said. And then after eating, your Dooley then put the man back into a bed, put a blanket over him, and then it was at that point that the victim noticed that she no longer had the knife in her hands, and he waited for her to go to sleep. And as he waited for her to go to sleep, he then managed to get the knife to free himself. And it's alleged that after this, he then bumped into a table, waking her up, and then ran into the parking lot looking for help. And that's when responding officers found this naked black man in the parking lot, and then went into Dooley's apartment and found evidence like the knife near the bed, several soap rags, and blood all over the bathtub. And that's when your Lauren Dooley was arrested and charged with multiple felonies, including kidnapping, assault in the second degree, menacing, and false imprisonment. Now, the police are seeing this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the behavior of your 22-year-old Lauren Dooley that she's alleged to have participated in, it fits the pattern and profile for dysfunctional women that I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis. And when I look at the behaviors of your Lauren Dooley is alleged to have participated in, they fit what I talk about in the chapters of The Woman Crisis as related to the sexual promiscuity of the American woman, the sexual deviancy of the American woman, and how this sexual deviancy can have an effect on a woman's mental health. And it's clear to me from looking at Lauren Dooley's mugshot that she's got what they call the thousands cock stare, and women get this thousand cock stare basically from having multiple sexual partners after years of participating in sexual promiscuity. Now, these young women are participating in this sexual promiscuity because feminists have told them that they can do whatever they want with their bodies and they can choose to hook up with whatever man they can, not understanding that sex for a woman is one, very emotional, and two, when women have sex with men, they have a bonding process, and what happens is that once that man goes out here and places his rod inside of her vagina, and she drops that skid mark thong and lets him put the carbon rod in the atomic waste reactor, what that does is it leads to that man releasing his spirit inside of her, and as her DNA bonds with his, and his spirit is released within her, what happens is she becomes one with that man. That is talked about in the Corinthians, in the, I believe, the 6th chapter, and Ringo also talks about this. This is where I learned a lot of this from. And again, what happens is when this woman drops the skid mark thong and this guy gets his taste of the atomic waste, what happens is she is getting his spirit released in her, and she is then becoming one with that man. And when a woman goes out here and has multiple sexual partners, like those women who go on sites like Tinder, what happens is that those women have multiple spirits of multiple men inside of them, and they have the DNA of multiple men inside of them. And because they have the spirits and the DNA of multiple men inside of them, this is what causes them to have issues with their mental health, because as those spirits are connecting with hers, they are pulling at her soul, and as they pull at her soul, they wind up making it where she has these inability to form connections with other people, and it makes her feel detached inside. And that's what I got from taking a look in the eyes of your Lauren Dooley in the mugshot. She has, again, a really deeply detached look in her eyes. She's disconnected from the world, and the thing is that what's making her disconnected and detached inside is the fact that she's got all of these different spirits from these different men pulling at hers, and she's got so many spirits pulling at hers that they're basically tearing her soul apart. And that's what happens when you get a woman who gets what they call the 1,000 cock stare. They have become so detached on the inside from themselves that they have no connection to the world. They have no connection to anything spiritual, and they're basically a hollow shell inside. And because they're hollow, they have no feelings as related to empathy, no feelings as related to compassion, and that's why this woman could go out here and connect and go out here and participate in a deviant sex act, like going to look to tie up this man, because basically she felt powerless as related to sex, and this was her way of trying to get power back by tying up this black man. And as she looked to tie up this black man, she was looking to go out here and take power by trying to break this man down after she stabbed him and then choked him. And then after this, she saw that she could go out here and control this man. So again, when it comes down to these women who participate in these deviant sex acts, it's just like the beta male. It's no longer about pleasure, it's about power. And what gives these women pleasure is having power over another individual. And that's what this woman was looking to do as related to these deviant sex acts. She wanted to be able to go out here and harm this man and use that violence to control his behavior. And once she got this man to be under her control, this is where she got her sexual gratification, because after she saw that she could, one, go out here and harm this man, and then go out here, make him bleed, make him suffer, she then felt so detached about harming this individual that this was what gave her the pleasure that gratified her, and she basically didn't even see this man as a human being. So that's why she put the blanket over this man like a corpse, because she basically was looking to go out here and do more harm to this man. And had this man not done some critical thinking, he probably would have wound up dead like another man did in the Midwest. I believe Mr. Superboy talked about this one, where this woman basically choked this man to death and then went out here and performed deviant sex acts with his corpse before dismembering his body. In these cases, these women again are so detached from themselves that they only get pleasure from doing harm to men, and the only reason why they want to do harm to men is because they have abused their bodies with mankind by going out here and participating in hookups on apps like Tinder. And what these women want to do is take their power back by weaponizing a website like Tinder. And sadly, this black man became the victim of her violence, and the reason why he became the victim of her violence was because this black man was spellbound by those blue eyes and that white skin, and because he was probably thinking, oh, the black women in my community are these no good black women, he thought, I'll go on Tinder and I'll go pull me a Becky. But he didn't understand that in his efforts to go pull one of these Beckys, he was dealing with one of these deeply disturbed white females, and that this white female was making plans to take him to the shadow realm because she was again having she was seriously sick. But this, you couldn't explain this to this black male, who probably thought he hit the jackpot. He probably thought, oh, I've got myself a Becky, and I'm going to be able to go out here and get her to drop the skid mark thong, and I'm going to be able to get an easy hookup with a white girl, not understanding that this white girl was so dark and twisted that she was going to take him to the shadow realm permanently. Because had this black man, again, not really thought critically, he would have possibly wound up becoming a murder victim as related to this Becky, and this Becky would have probably dismembered his body the same way that other white girl did, and she probably would have wound up taking his life, and he probably would have wound up never being found again. And again, that's what happens when you're a spellbound black male and all you think with the head in your pants instead of the head between your ears, and your quest to go out here and get between the legs of one of these white women may wind up taking a black man straight into an abyss, because while he's thinking he's going to go out here and be able to participate in a fantasy and a sexual fetish, and that it'll be a skeleton bone between him and her, he has no idea that this white female is getting ready to put him in a graveyard, and people will never ever know whatever happened to him. But thank God this man was able to get out of this situation, and now this woman is on her way to possibly winding up in the penitentiary, where she'll, instead of her going out here looking for hookups on Tinder, she'll be getting hooked up by Big Betty and Martha with some ramen noodles, Little Debbie snack cakes, cups of coffee, tubes of Crystal Light, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, Kit Kat candy bars. That's what she'll probably be getting hooked up with if she manages to win a couple of spades games, or she manages to go out here and find a new girlfriend. That's how it rolls inside of the penitentiary, but that's possibly the future for this woman, who is out here again at 22 years old and out here participating in deviant sexual acts. And again, when you have a promiscuous female, what happens is they have so much sex with so many different men on these hookup apps that they become completely detached and can't get any gratification as related to those sex acts, because they feel powerless about them, and that's why they go out here looking to go out here and torture someone the way this woman looked to torture this black man. And again, this black man basically learned a hard lesson about hopping the fence, and as he tried to hop this fence, he basically wound up in a situation that could have turned into a fatality straight out of Mortal Kombat. But the whole thing is, miraculously, by God's grace, he was able to get out of this situation, and he possibly will be thinking twice before he thinks with that head again, because that head almost cost him his body. So this whole situation again shows me how bad the woman crisis is in this country, because this is the second incident I have heard as related to one of these females participating in deviant sexual acts and looking to go out here and harm a man. And this is a whole situation that should scare most people, because we've got millions of women out here who are participating in sexual promiscuity, and with the average American woman having over 80 to 100 sexual partners, there's a possibility that we're going to see a lot more cases like this as more of these detached women go out here looking to try to have sex, to try to reconnect with the world. But because they're so numb as related to all of the sexual acts, and all these different spirits have torn them apart, they are going to be looking to harm men, because they believe that men are the reason why they are numb, when the reason why they are numb is because they have received a sexual miseducation, and it's because they've learned a sexual miseducation that they're out here detached in their own bodies, unable to feel or connect with anyone, and having spiritual issues, because it's the spiritual issues from having all of those soul ties from all of those different men pulling at their souls that's leading to them becoming and feeling detached inside. That is the main reason why this woman was so detached in herself, and why she was just so completely looking to do harm to this man, because this woman again got that sexual miseducation from feminist Madison Avenue in Hollywood and bought into hookup culture, and that hookup culture has turned her into a woman who looks to weaponize sex and participate in sexual violence, and that's what makes her a woman in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what makes women like this participate in these types of violent behaviors, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also pick up The Woman Crisis on Smashwords, the iBook store, and Google Play on November 29th. So you can pre-order The Woman Crisis and have it on your digital device on November 29th, or you can order a paperback when it comes in November. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.